Hey everybody, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini. Welcome to episode number 188 of WIP Wednesday. Before we get started, let's go ahead and make sure that y'all can see me and hear me. So if you can, just let me know in the chat box where you're tuning in from. I'm coming to y'all from my home crafting studio here in North Central Florida, where I was working out outside this morning and it was nice and cool. Now it's super hot, but fall is right around the corner for us, so that is going to be great here. I love this time of year, especially once it starts to cool off a little. I do like the summer, but I like the fall too. All right, let's see. Hey, Margie, thanks for tuning in from Wisconsin. We got Roberta in the house from San Diego, California. Hi, Wendy. She says, good morning from tomorrow in Australia. Hi, Wendy. Let's see. Joy says it's dark as night here where she is with the storms and all. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Hi, Zena. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Glamper Jan, tuning in from Crescent Lake, Florida. And who else do we have on here? Oh, hey, Peggy from PA. We got Tracy in the house from Memphis, Tennessee, too. Awesome. Okay, so we are, but I was supposed to show y'all some very pretty gator fabric that I was going to be using, well, I am going to be using it for my next pair of sneakers. However, y'all remember a couple months ago where I reorganized my entire studio? I started gathering up all the fabric that I had, and I put it in a very safe place. So safe that I cannot remember where I put it. I spent the last 45 minutes looking for it. I will find it because it's in here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So too bad I can't show you that pretty fabric, but I also have a second pair of sneakers that I need to make. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that as well. If you have not made your own pair of quilted sneakers, definitely keep watching this episode. I have a step-by-step video course where a ton of students have already watched the video lessons and made their own pair of sneakers. I have one of my pairs here. I only picked this one out because it's my cleanest little pair. I literally wear a pair of one of the 4 pairs of quilted sneakers that I have made every single day. Every single day I wear these sneakers. Today I wore them to bingo because I call bingo weekly for senior citizens in our town, and a lady asked me today, she's like, did you make those too? I was like, yep, sure did. She was just like, oh my gosh. But these are the ultra low cut. You can make a low cut, the classic, which is just a little bit taller than this, and then the high top ones that are a little bit taller than those two. But in case you were wondering what is she talking about, quilted sneakers, we literally quilt the fabric and then hand stitch it to the rubber soles with a heavy wax cord, and that's how we can make our own pair of sneakers. So I do have a step-by-step video course with tons of videos walking you through all the things. So today I kind of just wanted to pull out all my supplies for making sneakers so that I can start prepping what I need and getting it together to make my next 2 pairs, okay, which are going to be in the works very shortly here. I have an alumni reunion weekend coming up next month, and so I need to get those gator pair of sneakers done. And then Halloween is around the corner, which is one of my favorite holidays, if not my most favorite holiday. I love the decor. I love the spooky stuff. I have earrings, clothes, decor, quilts, table runners and all that stuff. So why not make myself a pair of spooky sneakers? Yeah, I'll probably not wear it all year long, but at least I'll have them in there if I need to do something that's, spooky themed, or for Halloween parties, or even just for wearing the whole month of October. I'm down with that. So let's go ahead and give everybody my over-the-shoulder camera shot so you can see the mess of supplies that I have right here for you. So I wanted to mention this too because if you are kind of interested in making your own pair of quilted sneakers, we do sell the video course, but I also have supply kits in stock. And I checked this morning, I think we have almost every single size. I think the only size I'm missing is 39s. That's a pretty popular size. They do come in European sizes because we order the soles from Europe with the insoles as well. And you'll want to check that conversion chart that we have on our site. That seems to be kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to like figuring out what US size number, if you're here in the US, what US size matches closest to your, American shoe size number, okay? They do run a little bit big. So I always just like to tell people, like, I wear a size US 11 and I have wide feet, and the size 41 fits me perfectly. Okay, I will say this is also another note, and for me at least as an instructor, why it's important to make all the different sizes and make multiples and things like that. The ultra low ones, because they're a little bit more low cut right here than the classic and the high top, I find that these fit me a little bit even looser. It's probably just because I have kind of more free ankle movement in this area. And so my foot in this area is not filling it quite as much. So I do find that the ultra low ones, I do need to tighten a little bit tighter with the shoelaces. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're looking for one, or maybe you have the soles, or you made it maybe, and you maybe made the high top and found that it was a little snug around the ankles. You may want to go down in the height of which cut you're choosing to do. So that it fits you a little bit more freer around the ankle. So this is the lowest size that I've made for myself so far. And I just made these kind of to play like as black little loafers, not as wild and fun and crazy colors like my other pairs. So, I like to have a few different options. So that's that. We do have the kits. We don't have them in, I said we have them in almost all the sizes left, and the link for that is going to be, or it's already there in the description below. We'll put the link in the comment for y'all. We do have, well, they come in 3 different colors. We don't have all the sizes and all the colors because they have been selling. And so I wanted to show y'all white is this one. Where it says gum, it's this kind of rubber, this natural rubber gum color. Okay, so if you're looking at gum, this is the color that you would be getting if you have that option in there. And then the black is obviously the black soles. Okay, and the black, white, and gum is going to come when you order that kit. You'll see, because in the page for it, it tells you exactly everything that comes in there. My class, as well as the supplies that come in the kit, are based on the Happy Feet guidebook by Joan. She wrote this little guidebook. We kind of go off of it somewhat. I do make some changes in the class just to kind of tweak it a little bit more, and what I have found works a little bit better for me, and what I think will set up my students for some really good successful results even on your first try. So in here you see I have all my pattern pieces, my pattern template pieces. You also obviously in the supply kit get the template pieces for all the sizes. And so that way, depending on which one you need to make, or if somebody orders them, or you're making them like commissioned custom sneakers and things like that, you can obviously always do that. You have access to all the PDF templates for the sizes and all the cuts. That's why you might be wondering, like, why do you have so many? One is ultra low cut, one is the classic cut, and one template is going to be for the high top one. I made 2 high tops, 1 classic, and then 1 ultra low. So those are the 4 that I've made so far. If you have any questions about them specifically, which ones, or in my experience, what's what, maybe you have the supplies, but you're a little bit intimidated about jumping in and doing it. Maybe you're a student who signed up for my class and you're still kind of a little bit intimidated. Maybe you watch the video lessons and still feel like you're not confident enough to make them. Feel free to ask me your questions on here, okay? Let's see. Hi, Diana. Thanks for tuning in. Mary's asking, do they have a wide shoe base? So I say they do run a little bit big, and they do have kind of a wide toe box, okay? So I will measure this one just so that y'all see. From here to here is 4¼ inches at the widest point for this size 41. And this is the only size I have here because these are my soles. But the same on this one. Let me line it up. Yep, about 4¼ at the widest point, okay? And they do run a little bit big. So let's see. MQ52 says, and then you'll need some with turkeys on them, and then some with Christmas themed ones, and then New Year's and Valentine's and shamrocks. Imagine you had a whole shoe collection, all kinds of stuff. I like to do them too. Some of the 2 high top pairs that I made were like this. This is the leftover quilted foam chunk that I had. I have a pair like this, and I like to make them with a bunch of colors. 1, because I love a lot of color and wild, funky mixes of colors, but 2, because then it can kind of, if I'm wearing a different colored top with some plain jeans, I can pull on, if the shirt is orange, if the shirt is aqua, whatever, it'll pull from the colors that are in the sneakers, and I like that too. The other pair of high tops, y'all have probably seen them. If you're on my newsletter list or you follow me on social media, I've posted plenty of pictures and videos of these over this past summer. And the other high top pair I have is this. And these are fabrics from eBond, a designer for Free Spirit Fabrics. They're gorgeous. I just love them. It's very like urban graffiti vibe. Super, super cute. Here are some that I had pulled out for when I locate my, and I'm still kind of looking around my studio to see, like, are they looking at me from somewhere? My gator fabrics, I have one super cute fat quarter that Barb sent me. Hi, Barb, if you're watching, thank you for sending me that fat quarter. She made a pair of gator sneakers that were, I can't remember if it was the ultra low or the slightly taller one, like the classic one that she did. It looked so cute, and she said she had some extra, so she sent me a fat quarter. Thanks, Barb. And then I had another fat quarter that I pulled out of my stash. And so I started kind of just to grab whatever little fabrics that I had that were kind of orange, blue, had gators on them and stuff. So these were two of the little chunks that I had, just so I can play around once I have my fabrics laid out to see which fabric do I want to use for the lining. Obviously, those fat quarters, they have, it's all the logos and all that. So I'm going to use that side, obviously, for the exterior. But for on the inside, I could do something like this. This is just like a blueprint with little tiny white stars. That's super old. I pulled from my stash, but that would be cool. Or I still have some more of this fabric. This is just a smaller chunk of this gator fabric that we sold a couple years back. And they're like gators with little birdies on some of the gators. They're like resting on them. There's like little lily pads, and it's kind of giving swamp vibes. So I thought that would be cute for the inside lining. I definitely still need to pull a few more different fabrics, because if we have a look at a finished shoe, this is very neutral, okay? But we're looking here as an exterior fabric. Then I have a gray and white fabric. You'll need another fabric for the lining. And then you have room here to add another pop of color, texture, design, shine, whatever it is that you're going for the final look of your shoe for the binding. This is bias binding. Don't freak out. We need bias binding because we need to go around all these curved areas. But I walk you through step by step on exactly how to cut it and how to stitch it on, because it goes around the shoe upper from here all the way around, and also the tongue of the shoe gets bias binding around the whole thing. And I actually did a demo on a previous WIP Wednesday episode for y'all on how exactly to stitch bias binding on. And so we kind of shared some tips on that. So if you want to look that up, just do a quick YouTube search. I would say for type in WIP Wednesday, bias binding, crafty Gemini. Just a couple keywords like that and it'll pop right up for you. I want to say it's maybe like episode 174. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, because we're on 188 now, something like that. We'll see. If we can get it pulled up here, we'll let y'all know. Is it 174? 178. Ooh, I was off by 4. So episode number 178, I show y'all some bias binding tips on how to attach bias binding. So there's another extra little lesson there for you. But of course, if you sign up for the video course, you have access to all the step-by-step videos, and they never expire. The links for the course and the supply kits are in the description box below for you as well. Let's see. Oh, Mary says she has to wear braces, so she needs a bit wider of a shoe. Yeah. I don't know, because this is fabric, right? So depending on how low you make it, Mary, and how, like where on your foot the brace is going to hit in this area, you can also control a little bit of the width here by how tight you tie the shoelaces or how loose you tighten them. Because I'm going to take these off just so that y'all can see. Because we make these and put them together in 2 parts. Just construction-wise want to show you. And take it from me, if you make these, add the little shoelace tab. You need it, okay? Especially on the high tops. On the high top ones, that tongue wants to kind of migrate all over the place because, as I was just saying, we put this together in 2 pieces. 1 is the whole upper, it goes from all the way around, and 2 is the tongue by itself, okay? So if you tighten this, if you tie your shoelaces and you leave them loose, I mean, you could be this wide up top here. As long as your toe area fits fine in the toe box, you can make this as loose or as snugged up as you'd like it to be. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want to tighten it this tight because you're not really going to have room there. But, however much you pull it and bring these guys in together, that's how tight you could actually make it, okay? So keep that in mind. You can see that if we open it fully, I mean, I think it has a pretty wide box because, like I said, I have wide feet, and I always struggle with tapered shoes and narrow shoes, and they do not fit me well, and these work really, really great. Hence why I've made 4 already, and I'm going to make 2 more pairs. So let's see. Yes, Windless Original says, so cool how little fabric it takes to make the shoes. I'm telling you, it's so impressive. Just to give you a visual, for those of you that are wondering, we start off with 1 fat quarter. If you're not a quilter, a fat quarter is like a chunky quarter yard, which ends up measuring about 18 inches by 22 inches. So just a little rectangle of fabric. 1 of those for the exterior and 1 of them for the lining. And you need about the same size piece of foam stabilizer. That's what's giving us the structure, the body, but still allowing the shoe upper and tongue to be breathable and comfortable. It's literally like having a little quilt wrapped around your foot. If you've made the shoes, go ahead and let us know in the comments below how comfortable you think that they are. I find them extremely comfortable. Like I said, this ultra low one fits me kind of a little bit looser because I have more wiggle room here since it's lower cut and I can kind of, you know, my ankle is like more freely moving. I feel like it's a little bit less snug on my foot than the other ones. The classic is like perfect. Perfect. And then I have two high top pairs, which are great. I love those too. So I think for these ones, maybe for this Halloween one, I'm going to do the classic. And I think for the gator pair, I'll do the classic too. I find that they go the most, like with everything, and the way that they fit me, I think it's great. Okay, I was saying with this, we start off with a fat quarter of exterior fabric for what you want to show on the outside of the shoe. Another fat quarter for the lining, okay? And then what do we do? Another fat quarter for the binding because it's cut on the bias and we want to have longer strips so that we're not really piecing strips together. I don't want to look across here and see like a joined seam right there, okay? So aside from that, we said the foam stabilizer on the inside. I made a pair of high tops and I still had this chunk left over. I mean, I still had a little bit more, but what I do with these chunks, as you'll see, I have the classic pair that I told you is like my favorite one that has navy like this. It's like a cotton chambray, almost like a denim-y type of fabric, but it's a lighter weight than a true denim. I did this color with the aqua and on a white sole. Like this thread, and the binding, the bias binding on this is this color. They're my favorite pair. Even my husband was like, I think that's my favorite pair that you have. I wear those all the time. I wore them today to bingo. Those were the ones I was wearing. But you can see that I made that pair of classic ones. And look, I still have this big chunk. So depending on what fabrics you're using to make your sneakers, and you know, whether it's classic or low, ultra low, classic, or high top, you're gonna have chunks left over. So if you really wanted to go funky, you could use some of this stuff to add little pops of funky fabrics if you're using a wild print like this for the tongue. Obviously, you don't quite have enough here to cut out the full sneaker in my size. You may have enough here. I don't know, because I haven't made the little bitty size 36. You may have enough. Maybe not. Maybe at an angle like this, because it kind of goes like this, the template. But save these pieces because they're pre-quilted, right? When we quilt the entire sandwich, exterior fabric to the foam to the lining, I mean, this is a chunk that can be used to do other stuff, if not the sneakers. But like, I can cut out two tongues from here for other shoes that maybe have more color around the outside, you know, and something else, and then save this chunk for the tongue. So you can use up your scraps, okay? Oh, Deborah says they're very comfortable. I made the high tops ready to make a second pair. I love that, Deborah. Thank you for sharing. Janice is asking, are the sneakers washable? So if we have a look, you would take out the sole because the insole like this. And I don't see why you wouldn't be able to wash it. Okay, I haven't washed mine yet because, to tell you the truth, I mean, they keep so well. Even the pair that I was a little bit hesitant with was the white one. The same one I was just talking about that I used white soles with the kind of denim-y and aqua blend. I wear those so often, and I didn't think I was going to. I really didn't even want to make a pair in white, but I wanted to have a sample to show y'all how a finished pair would look in each of the different colors, which obviously I still haven't done the gum one, but this cleans off surprisingly well. I stay all the way away from white sneakers, and I just take a microfiber rag with a little bit of warm water, and I literally just go boop, 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 boop around. Obviously, I'm not too worried about cleaning down here because that's constantly going to be on the floor, but around the edges here, and it looks, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. I was like, maybe that's why everybody's buying the white. It looks so good. Like, you can just touch them up and boom, you're ready to go. So I haven't needed to wash them yet. Another thing is, if you wanted to give them just like a spot kind of wash, you know, if you got a stain somewhere, you could absolutely do that because everything here is mostly cotton, and the foam inside, you know, it's so cushiony and like airy, it's gonna dry pretty quickly anyways, even if you don't have it like right on a fan. What I wouldn't do is put this in a hot dryer, right? Because the bottom here is rubber. I don't want to kind of affect the sizing of anything or mess up the rubber bottom. So if you are gonna wash them, I would just air dry them. Okay. The only other thing is, if you look in here, and I'm trying to recall from all the different steps, The edge that's down here is a raw edge, okay? I mean, they're stitching right 1/8 of an inch above it, so there shouldn't be any more fraying like beyond that basting line of stitching. But when you put in the insoles here, like the little insole, it lifts it up a little bit more, right, for the cushion part of the insole, and so you don't even see that. So the only thing I would say is try not to agitate that edge too much, because you may need to go in there and just with some scissors or something, kind of like trim off any little threads that have started to ravel. But otherwise, I mean, I would just spot clean them, spot wash them. It's all fabric, and then just let it air dry. Okay. Mary Arnold is saying, would canvas be a good choice for the shoe? So there are a ton of different fabrics that you can use. I teach the class just with cotton because it's just most readily available. It's what people, most of us that are watching my videos, have in their stash. And because, you know, the soles, the supply kits and stuff is already so pricey, I wanted to make sure that y'all would be able to use stuff that you have at home, that you like the fabric and you'd like to have shoes out of it. But I've seen these made out of soft vinyl, wax canvas, waterproof canvas, regular canvas would be just fine, Mary. Just think about the fabric that you're choosing and how you would feel with that around your foot. If it's a fabric that doesn't breathe very much, okay, you may like the way that it looks. You may like the texture, and so you may want to go ahead and do it with that. Just know that you're probably not going to be very comfortable wearing those shoes for 10 hours out of the day. But if it's just like to go to an event and then come home or something like that, you know, you're going to a quilt show or you're going to an open market or something, you kind of want to show, you know, or maybe match your purse to your quilted sneakers that you've made both, something like that for a couple of hours. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So canvas is breathable unless it's like a waterproof canvas. But even then, I've seen sneakers done in the waterproof canvas and they look amazing. Okay. Let's see if I'm missing any other things here. Zena's asking, Vanessa, have you used the leather hand sewing awl to sew a pair of sneakers? I have not. I actually heard from a friend of mine who's also one of my students. Hi, Dr. Susie. She was asking me if I had used the sewing awl yet to make it. And I was like, no. So a lot of people apparently are using a sewing awl because they struggle pushing the needle through when we're hand stitching with the wax cord. For me, it was super simple. So like I didn't even bother with it. But I do have a sewing awl that I bought so that I could test it out. I haven't tested it out yet. I haven't really needed to because I don't really have any issues with getting this through here. But now that I'm looking at this, the picture she sent me of hers was different than this. So I'll play around with this and I'll let y'all know. I'll keep y'all posted. I may even order the other one that she recommended because she said it made it a lot easier for her to do. For those of you that have taken my course though, know that if you're using the sewing awl instead of just the saddler's needle, when we stitch it in the class and how I do it is like this. Obviously, this is way longer because you need a lot to go in and out, all the way around your shoe. But I just use the one needle, okay? If you're going to be using a sewing awl, the movement is going to be different in terms of the pattern to get around and back. So keep that in mind. You'll have to just learn a new different way of going in and out, okay? In the rubber sole, that is. So I have this sewing awl here. This is a leather sewing awl. It's still in the package. When I get to using it, I will let y'all know. Okay. Oh, Mary says that demo was very helpful. Good. I'm glad. Oh, Zena says it's definitely a struggle for her to please give it a try with the sewing awl. So yeah, I'll let y'all know. Okay. Next thing. So we talked about fabric for the exterior. I have some cute Halloween-y prints. I was trying to see which ones I had that could work as a Halloween sneakers, but also maybe I could wear them different time of the year just so I can get more use out of them. I think these are just so cute. These little ghosts, look at them. A very Halloween-y one would be like the bias binding made out of just some type of an orange print kind of going around, the rest being black and white. This white, it's funny because my brain immediately goes to a lighter lining because I make a lot of bags and pouches. And so when you open your purse, I personally don't want to have a black lining because it's like a black hole in there trying to feel around and find stuff. So I usually teach classes and I make them for myself with a lighter lining so that when you open it, whatever light is around you allows you to see a little bit better what's in there. And so it's funny because I go to like exterior fabric. This would be cute. Lining, this. But for shoes, I don't know that I would want necessarily super light fabric on the inside. So I think something like this would be fun to do. some type of contrasting mix. Like I wouldn't mind having these little spiders as the tongue, but then it's like white fabric right here exposed, you know, where you're like stepping in dirt and stuff, and I'm sure a bunch of stuff will splatter there. So I probably won't want to do the white right there. But look how cute. These little spooky eyes in the dark. I'm going to play around with this. I mean, the shoe made out of that would kind of be so dark that it would be for me like a neutral. Some of you are thinking, no, that's not a neutral. For me, it would be because the majority of it is black. Boring. So something like this and this for the bias binding. I'm getting a black binding, which really helps if you use black thread. Nobody will see if you stitch a little bit off or you're kind of crooked in the top stitching of the binding. Pro tip. But also because I'm still getting that pop of orange there. However, because the bias binding is so kind of thin, this is something else when you're choosing your fabrics, and this goes for all your projects. Really stop and kind of deconstruct the project to decide, is the print and the design on the fabric going to even show if I use it this thinly? These eyes are kind of small, but I would probably bet that very few pair of eyes will actually show fully around the bias because look how thin it is. Right? So it would be better to have something that's kind of like a neutral, like a tonal print, like I did here, that it's like a geometric kind of print. It just adds the finished binding trim to it, but it also plays as just like a border, okay? And so I wouldn't want to use something like this for bias binding, right? Because it's going to look a mess. It's just going to look like blobs of white here and there with a little bit of black if I cut this so thin, right, to wrap around for the finished width to look like. You're not really going to be able to tell that they're ghosts because the ghosts are so big. Does that make sense? So we also have to be looking at scale, not just color, but at the scale of the image printed on the fabric so that we can decide where's going to be the best use of it. Where is it going to shine the most? And for me, I think people would stop me everywhere if they saw me with sneakers that had ghosts on them. Because for here, you would definitely be able to see the ghosts, right? On the side here, you would definitely be able to see the ghost. The other thing, and we talk about this in my video course, is positioning the template so that if you are using a directional print, it shows up correctly. In other words, I would not really want to use this as the exterior if I'm going to position my template on there and cut these ghosts sideways. That wouldn't look very cute. You know, like they'd be going sideways. Like you could still tell they're ghosts, but it's like, dang, why didn't you turn it this way so that up and down while you're walking and wearing them, you could see the ghosts upright. And so we would take a little bit of time to make sure that we positioned our template to get the best positioning. In other words, if you're a quilter, we're fussy cutting everything. So if you know what fussy cutting is, you also know that one of the best ways to do that with our templates, because here's how the templates come. This is the ultra low. This is the high top. This is the classic. Is it? Yes. Yeah. So if I needed to cut this out of here, okay, you can see that the template is not straight, right? You see how it goes like that? It curves. So you need to know which is the outside of the shoe and which is the inside of the shoe. And of course, this is all stuff that we talk about in my video course. But because it goes like that at an angle, I would have to choose what is more important to me. That the directional print show correctly on the outside of the shoe, because if this is my left foot, this is the part that people are seeing. Nobody's really looking at the inside, right? This shows more than this side. And so I would position the template on my quilted chunk, my quilted sandwich with foam, so that this area had the most correct orientation of my directional print, whether it's text, little ghosts, little faces, animals, people, whatever design you're using. I want this side to read correctly. And then you know that here it's going to be a little bit off just because of the simple shape of the template. Now, of course, some of you might be thinking, well, I want them both going the right way, and you can do that. But it's going to take some piecing of the exterior fabric before quilting in order to get it there. It's not that serious to me, so I'm not doing that. But what I would do, just to give you a visual, would be like if this was my quilted sandwich, this, I go like this, and I say, okay, this is the right shoe because we're facing this out. If it was this way, it would be the left shoe, and you'll know that. If you take the class or you read through the lesson in the book, you'll know which way to orient it. But say I had it like this would be my right shoe. So if this is my right shoe, I want to worry about this side because this is the side that's exposed to the public so that people can see my little ghosts. And so if I did that, I would say, okay, this side of it, I want the ghost oriented correctly. And so I would be like this, finding where on the design, fussy cutting here to position it correctly. And then once my little ghosts are going good, you can see that this side is going to go up like this. So we're not too worried about grain line necessarily. The whole thing is going to be quilted. If you use the double-sided fusible foam, it's also going to be fused. Everything is going to be stable. Don't worry about that part. It's just the orientation of a directional print. So these guys here, some of them will actually kind of, well, they're still going to be, some are going kind of up or down. They're not going to be fully upside down, right? Because it's still directional kind of reading this way. But I would do that and position the side that's going to be facing out the best, right? So that that outside part looks the best in your finished shoe. So keep that in mind if you're using directional prints, okay? Winless Original says, I was just thinking that's some serious fussy cutting, but here, you see how I was here with the paper kind of trying to eyeball it? You don't really want to do that. And so what I recommend my students do, which is what I teach y'all in the course, is to use clear vinyl. We trace our template, we cut it out, and then I position it on top like this so that I can see what in the world it is I'm doing. Okay? Like that. I mean, sorry for the glare, but you know what I mean. Like this, you would trace it out and then cut them around, and that way you can see exactly where it's going to be. If you know that this is the shape of the high top, you know, okay, I'm going to have some eyelets right here. So if there's a really pretty flower on your fabric that you want to grab, you're going to position it, you know, in this general area where the binding is not going to cover, where the eyelets are not going to eat it up, and you don't want it too close to the bottom, which is going to be sewn under and tucked inside the shoe a little bit. So you want to really keep it to this kind of middle area here of your template. Now, speaking of templates, I don't know the girl's name. Her website is K-Makes. She sent me these templates because she has launched a little business for printing or cutting out, I should say, and etching into these clear acrylic templates. And so she sent me the acrylic template for my size. Y'all can check her out, kmakes.com. And so obviously I haven't used it yet, but I am going to use one of these to make one of the two pairs that I'm going to make next. So I will keep y'all posted on, you know, my experience and what the deal was with this. But similar to the clear vinyl, you can't even see it. Let me put something behind it. Maybe this gray. Yeah. So you can see how it's separate, okay? Because if you had them joined like we did the paper, this template plastic would easily break there because it's not a full straight join, right? So you get to go like this and put them together and basically create your own template over top. And I can see how this would be an easy way to also fussy cut. She also has the holes cut out of here. And then she also has, this is the classic. I asked for the classic in the size 41. So this here, can you kind of see that line? Let me see. Yeah, there you can see it. There's another like etched line. It's not cut, but it's etched. And that's the ultra low, the one, the template, like the height version here, the style that I used for that ultra low one, the line is there. So although it's not an edge where you can just cut around it, I think you would be able to maybe make a little mark there, make a little mark there, and kind of go like that and you know, and kind of use up the template to give you that lower one, okay? But this is the classic, and so you can order from her the different sizes, the different styles, ultra low, the classic, and then the high top in whatever size you choose to get. So if you're someone who's making a bunch of sneakers in the same size, I think it would get pretty pricey if you were making sneakers in all the different sizes. You'd want to have all the templates, you know, but if that was your business, that would definitely, I think, be worth it to get them in, you know. So you peel off the paper, obviously, just so y'all see. Don't think that it's goes there, right? Because you need to be able to see through it. So it's just clear acrylic template plastic, and I would say it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. So pretty thick, just don't snap them like any other template, you know, ruler or template. And so I haven't used them yet, so I can't say how well they work or what, but I see all the notches, all the holes are in there. The holes that are there seem to be a good size. Let me see. for you to take your marker, because if you've watched the video course, or you've tried to make them before, you know you need to make the marks for where you're going to punch those holes for sewing. So you can definitely fit in a pencil or a pen in there to make your little marks on the fabric, okay, before cutting them out. And so it comes like this, the two parts for the upper and the one for the tongue. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. If anybody's interested in checking out those templates, you can check it out at kmakes.com. I'm pretty sure that's her website. Okay? All right. Yes, Tracy, just like that. Can you spell the name? KMAKES.com. Kmakes.com. Just the letter K. KMAKES. So I'm going to try these out once I get my quilted sandwich done. But you can see, let me see something real quick. I'm going to grab my small rotary cutter just to go along the edge. I just want to see to cut this like this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good. It's thick enough that, you know, the rotary cutter doesn't really jump on the edge, too, because that's one thing. Sometimes you get acrylic templates and they're very flimsy, but this one is, yeah, good and sturdy. I mean, if I went like that, I could really snap it, but you can see that. It's really good. So, and I can see that she has the little etched lines right here for the little shoelace tab right there. So, yeah, all the parts and components that were in the printed template, which you get for free, from Sneaker Kit, which is who we get the sneaker soles and the insoles from, has been transferred over and either etched or cut out here from her K Makes templates, okay? So check that out if you are looking for templates. Let's see. So Crafty 103 says, could you piece it together? Oh yeah, that's what I said earlier. Like you could piece it at the heel. It would just, you know, take more work. You could piece it. Piece it at the heel here, you're saying. The only thing with that is that you're going to have a seam running right down there, and I don't know how comfortable that's going to be, okay? Because on the way that we make them this way, we do have a seam at the heel, but very small, like it goes from here to here, and so that seam is covered by this little tab, and I find that that really helps and adds support there at the heel for just being a sneaker that's made out of a quilted sandwich, okay? So if you were to piece at the heel, you're going to have a seam going all the way here. And if you're going to do that, what I would probably suggest is that you add on a good bit of a seam allowance, more than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch or half of an inch. Maybe half of an inch is too much. Maybe 3/8 of an inch added onto each side. And so when you piece it there, I would open that seam and top stitch it. Does that make sense? So that you would get as flat as possible here from the added bulk, because now you're going to have 2 additional layers, because you're going to have a seam running up and down there, okay? So be careful with that. And now that I'm thinking, because this has a dart on the back, so it has some shaping on the bottom side. Oh, you could probably still cut. I would just cut out the dart that's in the template. I would cut it out after I pieced it together. And I haven't tried it, so I'm just thinking kind of ahead, trying to visualize what's what. If I were to piece these 2 flat here, then I would go in and kind of trace this out and cut this part out so that this comes together as a dart the same way that the regular sneaker construction comes. And then I will still have done what I told you there with piecing the seam, you know, adding additional 3/8 inch probably. I mean, 1/4 of an inch if you can like really give it a good press and top stitches so that you don't have that much bulk back there. Okay? So. Susan is asking, do we have more sole sets? We have full supply kits. We had the individual soles that we were selling just with the thread and like the wax cord and the saddler's needle, but more people were asking for the kit, so we had to convert those into kits. But if you do want one that's just a sole kit, email us and see if we can, you know, we'll let you know if we can pull one out of the inventory from the supply kit and make you a sole only kit, okay? Let's see. Ooh, Windless Original says that's a fun idea. What was she talking about? Glow-in-the-dark fabric would be awesome. Yeah. And then Windless Original says, that's such a fun idea. I have some glow-in-the-dark thread to try. Thanks for the idea. That would be so fun. I think I have some glow-in-the-dark thread over here. I have a lot of stuff here. It'd be fun to sit around and just play and experiment with them. Let's see. Susan is asking, do the high tops cover your ankle bone? They don't cover my ankle bone like all the way up. Like it's like right on it, but not like above it, if that makes sense. And I have several pictures on there. that I have shared and posted in the Sewing Clothes with Crafty Gemini Facebook group. If you're in there, do a quick search for sneakers and see, because I posted pictures of me wearing them. I've sent them out in a couple of emails. But from what I recall, because I haven't worn the high tops in a couple weeks, they go like up to my ankle, but not above it and cover it, or not, like not fully, yeah, at least. Okay. All right, good. Let's see. Did I miss anything else? Yeah. I hope my spooky shoes are going to be good. They should be fine. But you got to like pick out, and this is the thing with these shoes, because they're going to be sneakers, right? You have an you're investing time and money. You want to be the happiest you can be with the combination that you have, and then decide, am I only going to be wearing these for this occasion or this time, or do I want to be able to do a bunch of stuff with it, you know? So I'm going to play around. I have other Halloween prints that I may be pulling out, but I'm really liking the idea of having the exterior be this. We'll see. I'll play around with something, but I do want to have like a little pop of orange too. Even if it was something like this and the binding in something like this, I think that is screaming Halloween. And I could wear them all month long. All right. The other thing for tools, okay, we talked about fabric for the exterior and the lining. We said we need bias binding, like you're making the bias binding out of your fabric. So, I mean, you could use, I guess, store-bought bias binding. I just think it's so much more fun to add a little pop of color, texture, or coordinate it. You know, with the fabrics that you're choosing for the sneakers, the foam, the template that's included, the printed template, you know, you just cut it out. And then the eyelets. This is a part of this process or this project that I feel like a lot of people it just boggles their mind. So I cover everything super step by step. I include links to all the different items that I use, the products that I use, links to where you can get the stuff, what sizes I recommend, and all of that is in my video course. I don't even remember how many videos are in there. It's like a ton. I want to say there's like 20 or more video lessons. So we're not going to cover all of that today, but I did want to share just a couple of tips with those of you that are kind of on the fence or thinking maybe you might want to make your own pair of quilted sneakers. I save the scraps because you'll want to be testing out your tools and the color of the eyelets and all that stuff on the same fabric that you're going to use to make the sneakers. So you can see these scraps are from the quilted panel that I quilted to make these, okay? So here is the key thing. Don't ask me about the size of the eyelets because I really don't remember. I have tested so many. It's all in the course. But something that looks like this, that is big enough to fit the shoelaces through. Don't go too small. Don't go crazy big. Be careful with the listings that you're finding online that say grommets versus eyelets. Some of them, they're the same thing. Some of them, they are not. Here's the key takeaway. Make sure that it is something that has two parts for the install. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. This little baggie here, you can see, has different colors. Okay, don't do like this because this is not a lot. And so if I wanted to do high tops with this lime green eyelet, am I going to have enough? Probably not, because guess what? You need double on either side, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 for the lowest version. I need 10. Maybe I have 10 in here. Okay, so I may be able to do an ultra low, and probably not because I can see that I already used one here as a sample. So don't do like this. The high tops, and this is 10 for one shoe, okay? You got another foot, probably, most likely. So this is 20 for the ultra low one. The next one up, I want to say is 24 because there's 2 more and then 2 more. That's 4 added. And then the high tops, I want to say they're 32 eyelets that you need total, right, for the full pair. So don't do like this and think, oh, I have an assortment of colors. I'm going to do different ones. If you do get stuck with something like this, don't waste them. But you could do a color here, a color here, a color here, a color here, a color here. You know what I mean? And swap it out. So you're using maybe 2 blue, 2 red, 2 yellow, 2 white, so that you can stretch them and still be able to use it. But if you're wanting to go all one color or one finish, make sure that you're ordering enough, okay? So when it comes to the 2 parts, one part is the eyelet itself, whether it's color or not. Some of them are just metal finishes. That's going to depend on, you know, whatever it is that you're ordering. The second part is the little flat washer that goes on the back. If you order eyelets and they come like this, just the eyelets themselves, this is not for this project, okay? And I'll show you why. Let me crack, do a couple holes here so y'all can see. And these are kind of small. These I want to say I got from the company of the soles. These are little, man. I would not use these for mine. They're teensy, matter of fact. Which I'm sure the shoelaces are going to fit through them because I'm pretty sure I got these from Sneaker Kit. But yeah, so these still go through, but the shoelace is kind of pinched right there. You could see, right, how it's kind of a little bit smaller. So the thing with these guys is that here's how it goes. They have you punch a hole, so you need some type of a hole punch. When I tell you I've tried a ton of stuff and I share with you what worked and what didn't in my class, these are two totally different tools. They look the same, y'all. Do not be fooled. They are not the same. So I share this one with you where you can get this one, okay? This is the one from Sneaker Kit that I got, but this is designed for punching the holes through leather because initially these designs and the soles were created so that you can make your own pair of leather shoes. And if you've worked with leather, you know that we have raw edges, right? We're not quilting it. We're not binding it. We don't need to kind of finish the raw edges of the fabric when we puncture a hole because when we make a hole in cotton fabric, it's going to fray, right? So we do use a lot, not a lot. I mean, we do use a lot of fray check or like a seam sealant just because you want your shoes to last, right? So everywhere we punch a hole, we try to avoid punching a hole through thread, like through your quilting stitches, as well as putting a little drop of that seam sealant just to keep it from fraying further. So the eyelet part, if you mess this part up, one, the eyelet can just pop out. Let me see if I have one here. Okay. So these guys I installed just the white, okay, without the washer on the back. And if you pull on this, I don't have any nails because I've cut them off. This here is not very well secure. And I don't know if you can see it, but the raw edge of the fabric is exposed beyond where the metal of the washer is. Do you see that? Let me, like that. Okay. You see how like there's nothing there, like that's raw fabric. So over time, this is just going to continue to fray. We don't have anything there that's really like holding it or kind of sandwiching it in between. If you've installed plastic cam snaps before, remember when we install them, we need to have 4 parts. You have a male and a female end, and then each one gets installed with an end cap, okay? That end cap is like holding it on one side, and then when we squish the other thing, it's sandwiching it together. And the hole is so small that you really don't have raw edges of fabric showing anywhere. We want to achieve the same type of finish when we're installing these eyelets for our sneakers. I don't want to have raw fabric edge like this, okay? The same thing here. You see how that's even coming up? So if you use eyelets that only feature one part, the eyelet itself, it's no good, okay? You want to buy eyelets that have the washer on the back. And again, don't ask me the size, the name, the brand, just... I have a bunch of links in the online course because I cannot keep track of all this. But this is how it should come. I have a bunch here. These are just metal ones that have different finishes, you know, like gunmetal black, brass, nickel, whatever. So if you want those, make sure that it comes like this. Eyelets and the little washers. Okay? Like this. So I'll show you. Let me see. I mean, right now I can't tell you which I install with what tool by looking at this. So let's do a fresh one. For punching the hole, a million different tools out there. I've tested a bunch. I show you in the class a couple different ways. This one is probably one of my favorites. Well, this one too, and actually, this one too. You need to have something that's going to give you crisp holes, that's going to work, that's in the size because you're punching a lot of holes. Not only are we punching the holes for the eyelets, but we have to punch out every single little hole that we're going in and out with our saddler's needle all the way around here, okay? So it's a lot. So depending on what you can do and what your body will allow you to do, a few different options. I have this little rotary cutting mat here with like a Japanese punching tool. This guy is a rotary based one, so you kind of punch down and it rotates as it goes down and punches the hole. So if you're not in the mood for stabbing and jabbing and punching hard into a hard surface, you're probably not gonna like this one. Me, I like this one. Okay, so here's how I go. I go in the middle, say wherever you have your mark that we need to punch a hole, I'll do it Let me do it here on this one. And I just punch it down. It makes a little bit of a hole. It didn't fully punch through. Why? Because we have 2 fabric layers and we have foam. So I have to go in there again. And on the second go around, ta-da, there's a full little hole, okay? So this has different little tips that you unscrew. You change them out. So I do use this one to do the little holes down here. These are a different size. These are tiny little holes compared to the ones that you need to punch here. So it's a lot of steps, but it's not that it's difficult. It's just once you follow the instructions, you have the right tools, then you're going to be good to go. Okay? So that's that. Then when you have that hole, let's do a gold one. I got plenty of these. You're going to push in the eyelet from the pretty side, right? This would be my exterior fabric because it is. This is the fabric I use to make these sneakers, right? So I insert it from this side so it looks like that. And then you want to come here. And actually, I'm going to do the wrong way first with this one, and then we'll do another one the right way, just so you can see. Remember I said if I install this without that washer on it, it's just like you're basically what you're asking this to do is bend back that little height and punch, like bend it back to wrap around the fabric. So you already know if you need to be running shoelace through here, it's coming out through here. You're going to also, if you have any exposed bend back metal, it's going to be shredding your shoelace as it goes in and out. So that's another reason we want the washer, so that it serves as kind of a cover for that bent back metal, okay? So that smooth, it has like a smooth connection basically when you're pulling the shoelaces through in and out, okay? You don't want to shred your shoelace. So if I did not have a washer for this and I installed this here, this is how it would look. And I'm using this installation tool. You could use one of the others. This one only punches holes, but these guys punch holes and install. So again, don't make the mistake of thinking that you're getting an all-purpose tool that allows you to punch holes in a couple different sizes, but also has the installation thing on it. Because if you get one like this, thinking it's going to be one of those, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because now you're going to have to buy a totally separate tool to install. This only punches holes. So again, in my class, I give you all the links and tell you all the right stuff. Okay. So I'm putting it here. This one doesn't have the washer. I'm going to squish it. Let me zoom in so y'all can see the mess. Okay. Do you see that? And I got to be careful too, because sometimes that like ripped metal, it'll scratch you up and cut you, okay? So that's not, look at that. The fabric is creeping onto it from that side. I can see it. From this side, you're like, oh, cool, I installed it. But if you look closer, you can see that you have some fabric threads creeping inside the hole. So you don't really have a good install there. Now watch. If I do this, I'm trying to see if I can even pop it off. I don't want to mess myself up because I don't really have nails today, but look. I can just pull it out. Do you see how that metal, the little height that we had of that kind of the one end that was like a little bit taller, it's just bent back onto itself. And you can't really expect that to hold onto fabric very well. So this, my friends, is a no-go. Look at that. One side it kind of grabbed good. It's the side that actually has fabric creeping into the middle from there. So, well, not really. It's done. Cooked, fried, and done. Okay? That's not what we want. Instead, let's do it the right way with the 2-part one. And I can even use that hole. So if that happens to you, don't feel like the whole shoe is wrecked. You could still use it if the hole has not gone that much bigger, beyond the area that you were messing with. So again, from the exterior side, I put this guy in there, go through to the other, and then we're going to grab a washer. This is just to show y'all why you need the 2-part one, okay? If you've made a project like this before and you thought, I hate this, this is not for me, it's ruined. You might have not had the right tools and the right stuff. So this is part of it, okay? So I put the washer over top of it like that, okay? Then, and I'm trying to, there's still little threads from the previous messed up one. Let me trim this off, it's driving me nuts. Okay, so washer on, same tool, same thing. But now when we squeeze, look at the difference, okay? Crisp all the way around. You have that buffer. The pretty side looks good. And now you don't have to worry about the shoelace getting shredded. Come on, shoelace. As it rubs on that side, okay? So that's why it's super important that you have the right eyelets, okay? Not just the right size, but the right components. So you need the eyelet itself and the washer. So make sure that you're getting a set that has both, okay? I think that's the last thing I wanted to share, just to share some tips with y'all. But once you have that, this is, if you're one of those people that loves to kind of pick fabrics and match and coordinate, you got a lot of stuff to match and coordinate for sneakers. So pick an exterior fabric, a lining fabric, a fabric for your bias binding, then the finish of the color of the eyelets, what size and what finish you want, whether it's going to be like this, like a painted color, or one of the gold or metal finishes is also an option. And then you still, when the shoe is finished, you get to choose what color funky shoelaces you want to add to it. So it's one of those great projects where you can really plan out every single little part of it to make it completely unique and completely your own. All right. I see a question where Susan had said, does it rub and feel uncomfortable? I'm thinking she's talking about the back part here. To me, it does not. It's completely flat because where the dart is, it's actually just butted up against each other. It's not like a seam where you have a buildup of fabric and thread, okay? Zena says, I had a hard time getting the correct size eyelets. I mistakenly ordered a bag of huge grommets. Oh no! You can still use them. You got to make some tote bags or curtains or something, Zena, with those. Let's see. Oh, good. Thank you, Nancy. She says she may never sign up for the sneakers, as cute as they are, but she's still watching this video and learning a lot in general. It's important to know, you know, like what's what. Because sometimes you'll see a project, you see it has a grommets or it has eyelets, and you just think, oh, they're all the same. They are not. They are not. There are some grommets that get installed. I feel like more kind of industrial type of applications, if you're installing grommets on a tarp or something like that, they just use the ones that really just go around, which I don't like that idea of having any type of exposed cranked metal. And that can be like, if you kind of, you know, like squeeze it and install it lightly, it may not have any ripped metal edges. But as y'all know, I'm super rough with everything. And when I smash it down, it just like psh, rips the metal, and there's like jagged edges, and I don't ever want to grab something or, you know, put something else through there with fabric, like I said, the shoelaces, and have it start to shred it. So be careful with that. Make sure if you're thinking, and I have made bags with grommets that had both the grommet, like an eyelet like this, just bigger, with the flat washer on the back. And I find that those do give like the cleanest finish. So that's what you want to be looking for sneakers, okay? Remember I said these guys that came with the sneaker things are designed to be used with leather, for leather sneakers. So these ones, I guess, I've never made them with leather, but I guess they don't need to have the washers on the back because you don't have that issue maybe. Maybe it goes into the leather a little bit more. I don't know. Just know that for the fabric ones that we're talking about here, y'all definitely want to have the washers. Okay, so keep an eye out for that, whatever you're ordering. Boom, boom, the eyelets and the shoelaces. Yeah, and so that's that. I'm glad that I pulled this stuff out. The heavy wax cord would be the last part. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but that's another area, actually. I was talking about the shoelaces being like an extra place that you can choose the color, but the wax cord that you use here to stitch this on. I used this aqua colored thread on the white sole for the shoes that I made with that denim-y chambray fabric. When I tell you this aqua pops on the white, if you are a fan of those pops of color like I always talk about, you're gonna love that, okay? So this is something else, and of course in my class I link my students to all this stuff where you can get these spools of different colored heavy wax cording that will work exactly right for this and for the needles that I include in my supply kits. This is the one that I use, so just to give you a visual, I already use this to make a pair of shoes. I haven't made a dent in it. So if you have a box like this, if you get a collection like this one that I linked to in my course, you ain't never gonna run out of wax cord, okay? You can play around with all these colors. And so I was looking both for my gator sneakers and for the Halloweeny ones. Look at that. If I did white, that orange, oh my gosh, that would pop so well right down there. And it gives you an area, again, to add another extra little something that matches and coordinates with the fabric that you use for the exterior, or even just the binding that you use for the bias binding portions, okay? All right, so I hope y'all learned something today. And for me, this is gonna help me because now I took out all my supplies, I have all my stuff out here, and I will keep y'all posted on the next 2 pairs of sneakers that I need to make. My Halloweeny pair and my gator pair of sneakers. So I'll keep y'all posted. If you follow me on social media, you'll definitely be seeing some pictures and kind of little video reels of what I'm working on. I'm also working on a couple of other new big projects. So if you want to stay in the loop with everything happening here at Crafty Gemini headquarters, make sure to use the link in the description box below to sign up for our email newsletter. That is the best way for you to stay in touch with what I have going on and take advantage of some different, sales, coupon codes, new courses, new clubs, and projects that we are working on. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in today. Thanks for all your great questions, and I will see you in the next video.